मैत्री भवन के प्रांगण में आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है। Since long, it was a wish and desire of Bishop that we have a lecture on Raimon Panikkar. And therefore, after almost 2 years of working, we were able to finalize and we have come to the day. I'd like to welcome each one of you, especially Dr. Bettina and Manju Sundaram ji, Anand Mishra ji from the Department of Philosophy, BHU. मलिक जी, आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है और जिन मित्रों का नाम हम नहीं ले रहे हैं, आप हमारे हृदय में हैं, आप सबका स्वागत है। May I request to light the lamp to begin today's program.
सर्वशान्त्या चतुष्पदे च शान्तिं करोमि शान्तिर्मे अस्तु शान्तिः। यस्मिन् सर्वं यतः सर्वं यः सर्वं सर्वतश्च यः यश्च सर्वमयो नित्यं तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः।
Dear Bettina Ji, since 56 years you have been living in Varanasi. It was in 1967. And you have so much received from this holy city. It has become your city. You have received so much. And you have given and you are giving a lot in this city. To the point that for many people coming to Varanasi, of course, get the darshan of Madanga, of Baba Vishwanath, but also they came in Varanasi to meet you, and to be enlightened by your knowledge and your deep spirituality. Varanasi is now associated to your name, and that gives us to understand the way in which you have walked along the years. In 1961, you came to know Raimon Panikkar, who was your first guru. You met in Rome. 2 years after, he sent you to India. In 1963, you came to know another priest who will be so important in your life, Swami Abhishektananda, the French monk, Henri Le Sceau. You met him in his ashram of Shantivanam in South India. And those two priests, Raimon Panikkar and Swami Abhishektananda, have shown you a way of meeting deeply India from the Gua, from the cave of the heart, of being enriched by the deep spirituality which unceasingly you have been studying, pondering, meditating during all those years. So you are known for your works on Indology, your books, your lectures. But with Panikkar and Abhishektananda, another way was shown to you, and in which you have become main exponent today, the way of interreligious dialogue. You have done so much, not only to keep alive the memory of Abhishektananda, but to go on the way. So much should be said, but let's just remember the different sessions that you have organized in Sarnath, those inter-religious seminars. Along the years, you came to know India through beauty, Sundara. And here in Varanasi, you have created a branch of the Indira Gandhi National Council of Art. But more than an institution, you have entered through this way of beauty, this way of the rasa. And that's made you, all those years, pondering the great text of Indian aesthetics, has made you not only a scholar or a dry scholar, but a scholar full of rasa, looking, seeking for the taste of the absolute. Of Kashmiri Shaivism, you met him in 1986. And since that time, through his light, to what you have received at his feet, you have been transmitting the wisdom of Kashmir, of Kashmiri Shaivism, transmitting, of course, through books and through teachings. And in teaching, as I was saying, not dry teaching, but you have become one of those who can
spiritually transmit the vision of those great seers of Kashmir. Yes, Bettina, that is a very brief outsketch of your life, and so much should be said. But you have given us so much. And may I request you, Bettina Ji, to give us more today by this lecture on Raimon Panikkar, through whom you enter in this incredible and beautiful journey in India, your country.
Even ideas and thoughts are embodied in a person, and they come from a person. Even the philosophers, it comes from their personal life and experience, and especially in the case of Panikkar. This task is difficult to make him alive here because he has been forgotten. We have to admit that in India mostly he has been forgotten, and hardly any lectures or publications or on him. One exception was this organized in Delhi by Dr. Kapilavathya, a symposium on him, but otherwise he is more or less forgotten. It may be due to his option that he decided to not to return to India after his retirement, but to settle in Spain. And that is why he became more known in Europe than in India. But definitely his life and thought has a message for us today, because he was, in a way, prophetic in his understanding of also of the Indian culture and tradition. Now, who was Panikkar? And this is for those who are new to him. Born in Spain in 1918 to a Hindu father and a Catholic Spanish mother. And later he developed into an internationally known figure, bridging cultures and religions. Philosophy and theology, already he had 3 doctorates, and that shows his interdisciplinary approach, one in science, chemistry, one in philosophy, and one in theology. So he was, from the beginning, he was on an interdisciplinary path. Now, one of the reasons why he is not fully recognized in the academic world is that he does not fit into the clearly defined categories of academia. He was not a philosopher in the classical sense. He was not a theologian in a traditional sense. He was not an Indologist with great knowledge of Sanskrit and lecturing. He was not a guru, as we imagine a guru to be. And he was not even a historian of religion. So he did not fit in any one of these categories. But at the same time, he combined all of them into a creative understanding of not only religion and culture, but of reality as such. And in that sense, he was very creative, and he could not be understood by everybody because he went a new path in understanding of religions and cultures. He followed his intuitive insight, and he applied it to the fields of knowledge in a different interdisciplinary sense. He carved out an original way in and through all these disciplines, questioning many of their basic assumptions. But before coming to his ideas, let me introduce him from my personal meeting and contact with him and our almost lifelong association and 25 years of collaboration with him. And here I remember there's one beautiful book on Ramana Maharshi. The title is First Meetings with Ramana Maharshi. And there you find great people who met him, and that first meeting is so incisive in everything else which follows, flows from that. The first meeting, what strikes you, what touches you. And here I make a personal confession, because I was just 20 years old, and I was studying Protestant theology because I was in search of God, but I didn't know how to do it, except studying theology, which didn't satisfy me. And then he visited Salzburg, my hometown, for a conference, very high-level theological conference. And somebody said that there's a very interesting Indian priest, and we should meet him, and so on. So there were two ways of meeting him. One, he was celebrating Mass. And I was so struck by the way he celebrated Mass. I just went because I was not Catholic, but I went, and the way he celebrated Mass was, in Indian terms, we would call it, there was a unity of puja ka puja and pujya. I felt as if oneness, the one who worships the worship and the object of worship. So it was such a unity which I had never experienced before. It was not a ritual, which you perform out of duty or anything, but it was a complete unity. And for me, it was so striking that one can have this kind of experience through a ritual, but a ritual where you're completely identified with what you celebrate. And then he was invited, my home, we had some kind of group where people would meet and discuss religious topics, and we invited him to meet this group, and I don't remember what he talked. Maybe he was asked a question, I don't remember at all. And I was in a kind of crisis because I was searching. I didn't know even what I was searching, this age, a certain age. And that marks him as a guru. I didn't have to ask any question. He saw me and he understood. He understood what I was searching. And then he just told me, you come to Rome. How will I come to Rome? I had no scholarship. I didn't know Italian, and but still, he inspired me that there is a person who understands my search and with whom I can follow a path. So then the whole story started, and after some time, I actually, for the first time, I studied, he gave a comparative course, Hinduism and Christianity, at the State University, not the Gregoriana. And so the whole process of our relationship started, and so he guided me. I would not call him a guru, but a spiritual guide. And he guided me in the first steps of a spiritual path, and of course also intellectually that I to understand Hinduism. From the beginning, my interest was than in Buddhism or any other tradition. And from the beginning, also, Panikkar helped me in helping him, assisting him with his books and publications, translating books into Czech, editing. So it was from the very beginning I was involved in his intellectual work. And then he made it possible for me to come to India for the first time in 1963. Yeah. So here I'm already in Benares. In 1963, I mainly went also to be on the traces of Raimon Maharshi and to meet Swami Abhishektananda, whom Father Jan has mentioned. It was through Panikkar that he introduced me to Swami Abhishektananda. Then I have to, we had a very intense relationship, which shows also in a correspondence of hundreds of letters which have been preserved. Both he preserved my letters, I preserved his letters. It is a very fascinating testimony of our spiritual, intellectual, at every level. And so I'm just quoting the letter which he wrote to me before coming to Benares. My first visit in Benares after my doctorate in 1967. So to prepare me for this, he wrote to me, let this be a serious pilgrimage outside your world and environment and outside yourself. May it be a journey outside Maya in which you have often lived and landing in reality with capital R. It should be clear what you are searching, a truly theandric life. Now, this is an expression he loved to use. It's very much traditional. And theandric means both human and divine, the human and the divine in a unity. A deepening of your personality, no illusions, humility. Just to live now some years of your life in simplicity, and since life also has an intellectual aspect, an intellectual activity. Being a mediator between two worlds, a reconciliation between two cultures, a bridge between two religions, and all this in the heart and in spirit. This is my prayer and my wish. So this was before I came to Benares, and then I was welcomed also, not only spiritually, but also from the point of view of his work, because I joined him in his projects, and that became one which is still better known in India, that he had a project of bringing out an anthology of the Vedas in a way that is not only for specialists and not only for traditional pandits, but for people who are in search of truth, in search of spirituality. So he made this plan for a Vedic, later it was called the Vedic Experience Mantra Manjari. And I was collaborating in this, and it took 10 years of my life until the publication. But this was an occasion to read the Vedas thoroughly and to translate very roughly, and then we brought it into a poetic translation with the help of Mary Rogers, who was a Cambridge, a very good English, beautiful English. And then Panikkar wrote introductions. And I just want to give you one example, and that example is, of course, the most basic of the whole Veda, that is the Gayatri mantra. See, what was the special, the translation and the commentary were supposed to introduce any reader, even any unprepared reader, into the spirit of the Veda. And the Gayatri mantra everybody knows the Gayatri mantra, so I'm not reciting it. And our translation is, sorry. Om, we meditate upon the glorious splendor of the vivifier divine. May he himself illumine our minds. And there was a long commentary. I only give you his commentary so that you know what is his contribution to these texts. The Gayatri is a complete symbol of light. It is certainly much more than the epiphany of light. It is light itself, when the recitation is a real prayer, an assimilation to and identification with that which is prayed. Each line emphasizes one aspect of light, the glorious splendor of the ultimate, his own internal radiance, that is the uncreatedness of light. The creative light, the communicative brightness of the uncreated sun, Savitri, the brilliance of the living God who illumines everything. And finally, the incidence of this divine light in our beings, and especially in our minds, making us refulgent ourselves and transmitters of the same refulgence and converting us into light. Light from light, splendor from splendor, oneness with the source of light, not in a ponderous ontological identity, but in a lightsome identity of luminosity, totally transparent. This is a beautiful commentary on the Gayatri mantra. So this collaboration took about 10 years altogether, besides, of course, other studies which I did. Now, the other aspect, we are already here, the Panikkar and Banaras. That's why we have to bring him back here. He had left long ago, and his ashes were brought here, by the way, after his passing, and we did an Asti Visarjan in the Ganga. But now we want to come to his spirit, not to his ashes. Yeah, no, let it be. The previous one. Previous one. Yeah. See, Panikkar had rented a room on top of an old building on Hanuman Ghat, and with a big terrace. And below there were also 2-3 small rooms. In the center there was a temple. And this terrace played an important role. And here we are on the terrace, just the Ganga below. Left to him is Shanta. She was his assistant and his disciple. And sitting is one Benedictine from Spain, Enrique Aguilar. Now, this terrace played a role because he had a group of scholars or philosophers who were interested in discussion with him. Then he had organized what was called a philosophical tea. Every Thursday afternoon on the same terrace, just a cup of tea and a theme to discuss. So he gave a topic, and then was a free exchange of ideas, of course, between different. There were Buddhists, there were Hindus, there were Christians, and it was not officially dialogue or anything, but it was discussing around a topic. And it was so lively that even the professors of BHU, they were complaining that they have to go through these gullies with a lot of cow dung and so on to reach Panikkar's house. But they were quite attracted by his lively spirit and his way of raising questions and discussing and without any preconceived conceptions or ready-made answers. Now, so this was the same terrace. And actually his life was very austere. The room, which he had on top of the terrace, we call it a Basati, it was one room where he had his books. He had a low table where he used to write his books and papers, and in the evening he would spread out a chatai to sleep in the same room. But he loved that room. He loved that room. It was really like a hermitage. There, I just give a little example. Here we have a selection from his diaries, which are very revealing about his inner experience and journey. That was from 1971. That was when I was also with him. Yesterday, a good Mauna day. The walks on the terrace at night and in the early morning were full of promise, beauty, love, and joy. It is as if the water of the Ganga could carry all human experience and all cosmic salvation. I can truly be free and alone in my beloved room upstairs practically all day long. A profound sense of peace and joy pervades my life. What I fear is banality and mediocrity. So this is just an example. He loved that place. He did not care about the hardship, about food, and the toilet was somewhere downstairs, a very small place, but no comfort at all. But the atmosphere was so inspiring. Now, why? I have to admit also his weakness. He wanted to be in Banaras, and he had also applied for a professor post in BHU, philosophy of religion, but he did not get it because of some political reasons. And he left the city, but he, unfortunately, he did not learn Hindi. So his communication was very limited, more to the intellectual. So his communications were more limited to intellectual circles and university and English speaking. You know that it's very limited if you don't speak Hindi. So that's really a weak. Although he was a multilingualist, So he spoke all the European languages. And his father was Malayali, but of course they never spoke Malayalam because he was living in Spain. So the weakness of Panikkar, I must say, that he did not speak any Indian language, especially Hindi, because he wanted to be in Benares. So anyhow, one has to admit this weakness. Yeah, this is looking down from his beloved terrace. The next. Oh, no. Yes. Now, I also said that, or maybe Father Jan said, that it was through Panikkar that I met this Swami Abhishektananda, who was a French Benedictine who had become a sannyasi, and who became also something like my guru. And often he would visit us in Benares, and we had wonderful dialogues and spiritual meetings. Now, from these personal aspects and his relationship with Benares, I should now come to some of his basic ideas and his contribution. Panikkar was very critical about the developments of technology and science. And people would say, well, this is old-fashioned, but if he would know the development which has taken place in India in the last 20 years, or since he was not here, but it is tremendous. There's a tremendous change in the whole lifestyle also. We could not, at that time, we could not even imagine making a phone call, not to talk that every rickshaw and have his mobile, and it has changed tremendously. And he was very critical about now, what were his fundamental ideas which out of that criticism of modern society, he evolved a whole theory, philosophy, with very original ideas. And he felt that the basic problem in our also intercultural, interreligious understanding is that we live in a world of duality. And that the only way to overcome this duality is to come to a state of Advaita. And he had, again, his own interpretation of Advaita. One of his analysis, quote, modern views of man are based on dualism of man and God, man and nature, matter and consciousness, etc., opening the doors to alienation, manipulation, and exploitation. According to Panikkar, it is only within a reintegration of the traditional and medieval image of man, East and West, that a balance can be achieved. This would then be the basis for an intercultural dialogue which is not biased and which would lead to reintegration of the cosmic and the divine in human life. This integration of tradition has to be based also on symbolic, intuitive, and archetypal ways of thinking. It opens the way to contemplation and mysticism. Contemplation, the greatest challenge to modernity. is, in his words, the very breath of life, and mysticism is the fullness of life. Yes, about his criticism of science and technology, well, he calls it technology as such, it is an instrument, but he calls it technocracy, when man becomes a victim of the technological system. Quote, the traditional criticism of the scientific paradigm consists in saying that it leaves no place for God, to which the scientist responds that there is no need for them. In contrast, my criticism of the scientific paradigm maintains that it leaves no place for man. The great absentee in the scientific mythos is man. Gods, there are aplenty, in the form of black holes, galaxies, and infinities, great and small, limits, thresholds, and so forth. Devils are legion. Biomolecular sciences provide a virology quite as imposing as any medieval demonology. And modern medicated man proceeds in fear and trembling in a world of invisible germs and viruses of all sorts. And he wrote this long before the COVID overcame the humanity. Matter and especially energy are all pervasive, as are time and space. Only man does not come into the picture. There is an observer there, of course, a so-called intelligent observer who may even have programmed the computer and who doubles from time to time as the onlooker, agog, as what can be observed. Man, however, cannot be located among the data. It would be considered suspicious if the observer were found to be manipulating the information too much for the sake of a particular experiment. On the contrary, man is in a certain way the obstacle to pure information. One reckons with man mainly as a disturbing factor, a modifying parameter, necessary to be there, sure, but somehow obscuring the purity of the measurements. Now, we have to remember that Panikkar had studied science, so he did not criticize science out of ignorance. He had a doctorate in chemistry. So if he was critical, he had sufficient background and sufficient knowledge. Now, because he found that language is too much bound to this dualistic vision of reality. And that is one reason why he coined some neologisms. And he's criticized for that. You know, he used some new terms instead of ecology. He says ecosophy, the wisdom of the earth, and dialogue. The word dialogue he also interprets in a different way. Not that two people are talking to each other or two groups of people talking to each other, but he understands the word dia, as true, and logos is the word. So through the language, to come to a deeper level of communication. So piercing through the word, because if we remain in the dialogue at the level of language, the result is mostly misunderstanding. Either leaving the other just as he is, and no real communication takes place. So his understanding of dialogue is piercing through the logos, piercing through language, coming to a deeper level of communication. And then he has coined also the famous terms not inter-religious dialogue between two religions, but intra-religious dialogue. That the dialogue between religions should start within oneself. And one cannot have, suppose you have a Christian and a Buddhist sitting together, but if the Christian has never made any experience or knowledge of Buddhism, how we will dialogue? So this intra-religious dialogue, which has first to be internalized, and then it can lead to a completely different level of understanding. And we have examples for this. We have wonderful examples for this. Now, I just give you some of these ideas and these new approaches to understanding, which I hope at some future lectures can be elaborated. We will see a number of books here, so it's not possible in one lecture to take up all these topics. But I just give you a kind of appetizer for his ideas and his incredible contribution to our present state of consciousness, our present predicament. Now, one of his, these are very abbreviated ideas. He moved, and I have observed him over 25 years of collaboration. And he made a tremendous development. But it was also development of the church. Pre-Vatican II and post-Vatican II, it was a tremendous development. And he moved from what he himself calls from monotheism to pluralism. See, pluralism, it's not only a fact. We live in a pluralistic society, whether religiously or socially or in any other way. But he has developed the whole theory and philosophy of pluralism and also theology. So this is a whole topic which could be also dealt with another lecture. And he has fallen in love with one term, which, where are we? Yeah, he's sitting in his study in Tavetet in Spain. I think it was the outcome of his study of the Vedas. You know, in the Veda you have 3 levels of Adibhautika, Adidevika, Adhyatmika. So the cosmic, the divine, and the human, or the related to the self. And the Christian Trinity. Now, he has also developed a method, it's not of comparison, because there's comparative religion, comparative philosophy. But he said that this comparison is not possible, because to compare 2 philosophies or 2 religions, you have to be above them. You have to look at both from above. You cannot, from one point of view, I cannot judge the other point of view. But he has found another method, he calls it homeomorphic equivalence. Homeomorphic comes from scientific language. See, you can, for example, he gives the example of Brahman and God. Brahman is not God. God is not Brahman. But they fulfill the role of the absolute in the relative tradition. And so they have a correspondence. See, the correspondence and or homeomorphic equivalent in a certain tradition, in a certain system or philosophy or theology. And there, the Christian Trinity has played a very important role for him, because he has seen that Trinitarian or triadic system in every tradition. You have the Trikaya in Buddhism, you have the Trika in Shaivism, and they are not the same. They are not the same. But it's a triadic structure which fulfills the purpose of covering the whole. Trika embodies the whole, the Trinity also. And he has developed that concept, what he calls, it is not invented by him, but he has revived it, cosmotheandric. Cosmos, God, theos, and aner, man. So this threefold understanding of reality, he has called cosmotheandrism. And he has developed it very thoroughly as a whole book on the cosmotheandric experience, where he says also that there is no God without world, there is no God without man, there is no man without God. And this complementarity of which he calls cosmotheandrism. And this is again, like many other of his ideas, it would be a basis for ecology. Ecology which is integrated, the human, the divine, and the cosmic, not isolated. And so this is a very important contribution he has made, and he has fully developed. And I can give a witness how, what was the practical or spiritual application. When he was guiding me, in the beginning he was guiding me spiritually. And then sometimes he found that I'm too much, lost in the divine and so on. Then you will come down to the earth, you come down to nature, you come down to human relations. And if you're too much bound in human relations, you have to go to nature, or you have to go to God. So it is this complementarity was very much applied in his spirituality. And so this is one very big topic in his work, cosmotheandrism. Yes, now he has, of course, Advaita was for him the solution of all our problem of dualism, dualistic consciousness, and dualistic relationship with each other, with nature, with different traditions, different religions. But he takes Advaita not, he refuses the translation non-dualism, because he says that non has such a negative implication. But the prefix in Sanskrit is not only a negation, it means something beyond, something different. So he has developed this whole approach to Advaita. Having translated Advaita as non-duality has had deleterious consequences in the encounter of cultures. The dialectical method is based on the principle of non-contradiction. If Advaita is non-dualism and at the same time claims to be non-monism, then Advaita is pure contradiction. Excluding any other plurality, we cannot escape the dilemma of either one or two without falling into contradiction. We cannot deny both one, not two, and two, not one, at the same time. It would amount to negating two and non-two. The only dialectical escape is simply monism, which is the great pitfall into which many interpreters have fallen when they interpret Advaita rationally, that is dialectically. Advaita cannot be reduced to a concept. Now, he and I was independently, I always refused to translate Advaita as monism. It is very common in philosophical literature also. Because monism is, and there he has a very strong polemic against monisms of all sorts. Now, monotheism, he says, is the source of so many the domination of one culture, one language, one civilization, and this we have the colonization, everything. It's in the name of monism, monotheism, that only this is the real thing. And that is why the theory of developing an approach to pluralism is so essential to overcome these limitations in society, consciousness. It is not a kind of freezing the reality into one, but that one is dynamic. That one is dynamic. It is, that's why it is threefold in the Christian Trinity and in Trika and other systems. Now, yes, his main purpose of his work was to attain a holistic vision of reality. And I have just quote, "The holistic attempt tries to reach the whole not by a dialectical synthesis, but by means of an immediate contact with the whole, defying the dualistic subject-object epistemology. The modern problematic about understanding and hermeneutical circle is related to what we are saying. We cannot interpret anything without previously knowing that which we are, of which it is a part. That is, without knowing it as a part of a whole. Can we, however, understand the whole without knowing its parts? It has to be another type of knowledge. To really understand a text, we have to know its context. But in order to know the context, we need to know the text, etc. I have called all these circles not vicious, but vital circles. And here Advaita offers a clue. So it's his holistic approach, which includes, of course, the pluralism of cultures and approaches to reality. Again, quote, "Having realized that consciousness of the whole is both consciousness of the whole, not of its parts, and the whole's consciousness, for there is nothing outside the whole. Consciousness is directed toward itself, that is, to introspection, interiority. As Lao Tzu, the Upanishads, Aristotle, Augustine, and so many others remind us, they do not mean intimacy and solipsism, as it is sometimes interpreted. On the contrary, they mean the attempt to overcome the distraction of the parts and to get in touch with the whole." And of course, getting in touch with the whole is what happens in mystical experience. So I don't want to expand on these topics, which each one can be presented in a separate lecture, also based on his books. And each one is a challenge to our, basically, our dualistic perception of reality at all levels. And that is the cause of so much of disaster, ecological disaster, because we consider nature as to be exploited for our well-being. But what he calls ecosophy, the wisdom of nature, wisdom of nature, where you cannot exploit her. If you treat her with that wisdom, you cannot exploit her. You have to treat her as a partner in that process. Now I come to one point, which again has to do with my own relationship with him. I have learned tremendously from Panikkar and from the challenges which he has always placed before us, which made us think and reflect and exchange our ideas. But I also have to say that I have given him back something. And so in the form here, Maitri is sitting here, I have made him aware of the tradition of Kashmir Shaivism. And it was rather late, he had started his career with Shankara Vedanta and had written a thesis on Ishvara concept and so on. But when he discovered Kashmir Shaivism, he was totally overwhelmed that this corresponds so much to his own insights. And then only two texts which I shared with him, it was rather late for him to integrate it in his thought. One was Paratrishika Vivarana, and the other Tantrasara. Tantraloka, that was anyhow too big for him. But Tantrasara and Paratrishika Vivarana. Paratrishika Vivarana, it hit him like anything. It's the most difficult text of Abhinavagupta. And he used some of the great insights of Abhinavagupta in his thought, and towards the end of his thought process. Now, this book, The Rhythm of Being, that is the summary of his whole thought and a kind of development and a synthesis, a kind of summa of his ideas. And there he quotes Paratrishika, one actually the Tantra itself, and interprets it in his own. And this is tremendous. And he told me also, it was a time of, he was not well, he was in Spain, and we could not meet. So once I had sent him this text, and then I talked to him on the phone. He said, Bettina, you have discovered a treasure. You have found a treasure. And that treasure was Abhinavagupta, Kashmir Shaivism. And definitely if he had known it earlier, he would have integrated it more into his philosophy. But he used here, Maitri knows very well, one mantra of the Paratrishika Tantra. And I give you this as I feel like uttering, and this is towards the end of this book, which is his Summa, I feel like uttering the profound prayer of the Kashmiri Shaivite tradition. Tell me, O my Lord, this great truth which still remains concealed. Etad Guhyam Mahaguhyam. This could also be read as, tell me, O Lord, this secret, Guhyam, which is the great non-secret, Maha Aguhyam. Or even more plainly, tell me that which being unhidden, yet it seems hidden. The hidden great unhiddenness, the great unabsconded secret. The secret is, there is no secret. This Guhya is Maha Aguhya. And then he goes into the meaning of Guha and Guhya, but then the conclusion he draws out of it is very beautiful. And he quotes here a little bit from the commentary of Vivarana. This plain truth is open secret. It is a Mahaguhya. Mystery is still greater than the Guhya, the secret, the concealment. You open the door. You open the open doors. You reveal what is plain and patent to everyone. You tell a secret, there is no secret. but is the most obvious and immediate thing of all. I was a hidden treasure and loved to be known, says a hadith quoted by Ibn Arabi. Now, and this is really a kind of summary of his attitude based on Abhinavagupta's Pradeshika Vivarana. My prayer is clear. What I would like to say is not a secret, not something hidden that I have found, not a new philosophy or revelation. It is not something buried deep in the cave of the centuries or of the human heart. To the contrary, it is a great unconcealed Maha Aguhya, the most obvious thing which practically everybody is already experiencing, which the simple people intuitively live by, and which already proffers hope and love to all humanity. It transcends ideologies. It is the patent reality, here in front of us all, a wide open secret. So this is, it was for me the greatest satisfaction that he has really taken that text and applied it to his own understanding and his experience. See that he did not tell something which should be very obscure, very hard, difficult to understand. But the purpose of going through this whole process is to reach that which is obvious, which is in everybody's consciousness. And here our Tantra and Abhinavagupta have been a great support. So I think I'm already transcending the time.
This opportunity, request Sister Shruti to present this bouquet to Bettina. May I request Bishop Swamiji to give a small scarf. Bettina ji. May I request Dr. Tabir Kalamji to give to Dr. Manju Sundaram. She is coming after a long time to this house. May I request our Bishop to give a concluding or something that touched him after concluding this first lecture on Raimon Panikkar, and a word of thanks to all those who are present here.
Dr. Bettina and all the eminent dignitaries present here and all the friends. It's truly a delightful evening that we had a program of this sort. For quite some years, I have been telling Maitri Bhavan that we should recall, revive and renew and re-echo the name, the person called Raimon Panikkar. I used to be a little young boy of philosophy student, as a philosophy student, I have seen Panikkar. Then, as a young priest, probably in 88 or 89, something like that, I have heard a lecture from him on the invitation of Bishop Patrick. He had addressed us. I have heard him. That time also I knew, today also I know, it is very difficult to understand Raymond. But yet, somehow, some kind of fire that he has in myself. Therefore, I always keep telling that we must bring back Panikkar. Whenever Jan used to come to our house, I used to request him, could you please sort out all the works of Panikkar and create a shelf of Panikkar in my house, in the bishop's house? We have plenty of stuff of Panikkar. I don't know how to, put him together and classify him and make sense out of Panikkar for ordinary people. So I used to request Jan for doing that, and he's still doing that. Lazy fellow. He is still doing that. Now, I'm very grateful to Bettina, and very grateful that we chose Bettina to speak about Panikkar. We could have brought on another Indologist, someone who has researched or cited Panikkar in his works or something like that, and who has never seen Panikkar. We have someone who has seen Panikkar, spoken to Panikkar, listened to Panikkar, be with Panikkar, influenced by Panikkar, and all has influenced Panikkar in turn to the last quote, that last citation that you have given. So it's something very, very beautiful and very wonderful that we had Bettina to present to us, of course, in glimpses, almost as it were, she has given certain recipes for future. She has given so many recipes for future. So I'm very grateful. I would request you give her a very gentle, affectionate hand and appreciate her for being here to share with us. Okay. Bettina has created an enthusiasm, created an interest in us, presenting Panikkar as a seeker, person always in search. And to tell it really, in Varanasi, in India, the search has not stopped. The search has not ended. And there is a need, urgent need to continue the search. When we talk about people coming together, or when we talk about dialoguing, we are not dialoguing for a destination. We are dialoguing to walk together onwards. So seeking constantly. Search itself is very characterized by the idea called eternity. So it has got an eternal element in it. So search must continue. Search towards supreme, she cited it, highlighted it. Search towards absolute. All these are very important elements that Bettina brought about. And the most urgently needed thought and understanding on pluralism. And I read some of his small articles. Pluralism is his favorite. And today, understanding pluralism and making pluralism real is an urgent need for peace, for harmony, and for, confluencing into the Supreme as one, confluencing the Absolute Divine as one, and confluencing with each other as one is a very crucial need and a very crucial necessity, which Bettina explains. The very most interesting thing is the cosmotheantric idea of Panikkar, which Bettina highlighted very well. And I would say a little bit of my understanding of what he is talking about in one of his personal articles that he wrote for me to be published in one of our magazines, The Temple and the Church. Nothing very special, nothing very technical, very simple. He talks human spirituality. It is man going to God and God wanting to get people, man. And I think this is a very profound idea which has to be made alive and brought into vitality if we want to, really realize certain dreams of thinkers and spiritualists in the world today. Particularly for me, if Pope Francis's, dream of Laudato Si has to come true, common home, the dream for common home, the man, God, and creation, and I suppose the cosmo. You, cosmocentric, you are trying to use a cosmo, something like that. So if that has to come true, I think it's a very urgent need, and she has given us the inspiration that we should penetrate into it. And I'm sure the Laudato Si dream will come real on earth and among entire creation and entire world itself. And she has very clearly indicated Panikkar's approach is very incarnational. That's why the then prelate in Varanasi, who represented the Catholic Church, Jerome Malafan, was fascinated by Panikkar, and he placed him in Lanka as a chaplain, as a spiritual guide for students in BHU, and so on and so forth. And that's where we take Panikkar as a point of reference. The church in Varanasi today holds Panikkar very dear to our heart, and that's where we take him as a point of reference for our being here, and for our doing here, and for our dream here in Varanasi, a city of spirituality. Having said this, once again, thanking Bettina and all my adorable, gurus and scholars and dignitaries here and all the friends here. Thank you very, very much. I wish we will have you coming to Maitri Bhavan again and again. God bless you. Jai Hind.
If you allow me, I would like Panikkar to have the last word. And the key to all his insights is meditation. So I just want to share two passages on meditation which we can carry home from his diary. Meditation means contact with the infinite, but the infinite is precisely that which cannot be touched. Meditation then is emptiness. It cannot be thought. Meditation is putting oneself in harmony with reality, capital R.
We know some of these are words we repeat often again. When it is repeated many times, it is called Nama Jap. And it creates a kind of inner movement inside the person when we call upon the name of God or the Beloved or the Supreme.
Om Guru Sachidananda Guru Om Guru Sachidananda Guru Sachidananda Guru Premananda Guru Sachidananda Guru Premananda Guru Om Guru Sachidananda Guru Om Guru सच्चिदानंद गुरु प्रेमानंद गुरु आत्मानंद गुरु प्रेमानंद गुरु आत्मानंद गुरु ओम गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु ओम गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु दयानंद गुरु परमानंद गुरु दयानंद गुरु परमानंद गुरु ओम गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु ओम गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु ओम गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु.
All of those who want to see some of the books of Raimon Panikkar, you are invited to come also to see them there. Thank you.